I am here to talk about the Suzuka circuit, which will be the home and the venue for our next race coming up in Season 5, featuring the Porsche 718 GT4 Club Sport MR. In this video, I am going to do a little track walk to kind of show you the way around Suzuka, both in a safe manner and also in a quick manner. I will also, show you where brake points are, turn-in points, and things to kind of watch out and look out for around this very technical and challenging track. Suzuka is located in Japan, and it represents the first time that the PCA Sim Series has ventured outside of North America into Japan. So it's pretty exciting. So without further ado, I will play one video or one clip, which is a lap that I just did, so you can see at full speed the general line that we're trying to go for. And then I will come back and I will break it down into further details about in different segments around the track. If you look down here towards the bottom left of your screen where my cursor is circling, there's a steering wheel, and there's also input controls for gas, brake that you can look at to see how my inputs are being used throughout the track. So without further ado, here we go. So there we go. There is the lap of Suzuka. And it ended up being, I think, it was a 2-minute, 10-second, 2-minute 10.7. Okay, I mean, there's probably definitely faster people and faster laps out there, but it's something I put together real quick. So we're going to go back and revisit this lap and go turn by turn and kind of talk you through a track walk of this Suzuka. So coming down the front straightaway, I'm actually going to put the video in chase so we can kind of see a little bit more around the car. But coming down the first straightaway, it is a long straightaway. There's lots of ways you can, position your car down the straight. There's no particular best way to go down the straight. You're just keep your steering wheel as straight as possible so you're minimizing scrub of speed. Obviously, if you're following somebody, stay behind them to try to get as much time as you can through any kind of draft that there may be available. But it's a chance to relax and kind of think about the upcoming first corner, which is one of the more difficult corners on the track. The first corner is called, aptly enough, first corner, and it features a double apex right-hander that you constantly keep a consistent steering angle throughout the turn. So here we go. We're going to run down to turn 1. And what I'm looking for coming into turn 1 is the 100 board and a line. So if you can see out in the distance, there is a line across the track. I'm going to brake just before or at it to set myself up for turn 1. Your mileage may vary. You may not be comfortable braking at that line, or you may be more comfortable taking it a little bit deeper. But for me, I tend to brake at that line. And I don't brake hard. I mean, I don't threshold brake this car coming into turn 1. I do a firm initial pedal, but then I start bleeding off the pedal because we want to trail brake almost all the way around this semi-hairpin of a corner that is turn 1. So we're going to come down in here. I'm going to slow the video down. There's my brake marker right at the line. And then I turn in right at this left access road that we have here. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be on the left side of the track at the access road and connect a straight line down to the apex curbing on the right side of the track. So if I continue right to the apex curbing, if you notice my steering angle right here, it's going to be very similar all the way around the track. Notice how little brake I have in the car right now because I'm trying to use most of the tires and traction to turn the car around this corner. Apex, as far as the car wants to do it. So what I mean by that is if you brake a little bit early and scrub too much speed coming into this corner, it's not necessary to get all the way over here left to this left apex curbing. Don't drive the car over here. If your car ends up about mid-track, that's okay. You can still take the second part of this corner from mid-track. Only go to where the car needs to go in order to turn for this next corner. So you see I still have the same amount of steering angle, still have a little bit of brake all the way around the corner to keep the weight on the front nose to help to turn in. I've added a little bit more steering angle coming into the last portion because we need to try to get the car down to this apex. And then for the second portion of this turn for the first corner, we're trying to late apex around this curbing. So somewhere where my cursor is way over here around the corner. The idea that we want in our mind for this corner is we want to be able to get to our throttle as early as possible to try to get a run out of the corner. So coming through, I still have brake. I've got more steering angle, and this is actually probably a little more than I'd want. I ended up taking a little bit on this lap, a little bit too much speed coming into the second part of this corner, and that's why I've got a ton of steering angle. Ideally, I wouldn't want as much. But if you can see here, you notice that, I'm going to back it up just a touch, I've already started getting on the throttle coming around this corner. So right around here, I'm starting to pick up the throttle to help slingshot me around this corner. And the only way you can do that is with an elite apex. So picking up throttle, picking up throttle, picking up throttle, picking up throttle. And then when I know I can make this corner, I'm at full throttle before the corner's ended. And that's because of a late apex. We'll use all the curbing coming out. Try not to go over the actual curbing itself because it does fall off and your tires can get into a little bit of a groove over here and it can unsettle the car. So up on the curbing is fine. Don't go beyond it. And now we're going to set up for what's called the next complex of corners, which is called snake. Or the S's is another way to talk about them. We're going to move the car all the way to the right side of the track and set up for a complex series of corners. Now, there's a lot of different lines through this set of corners. I'll show you the way I like to take it and what I think about it. But that doesn't mean that there's not another line that may be quicker for some people. So I'm in fourth gear heading in. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to basically scrub and as little speed as possible and keep my momentum as high as possible for this first corner to set up into the second one. Fourth gear, I will downshift into third gear after this first set of curbing before I go to the right to help slow the car down. But I'm trying to get my left wheels as close to, or if not on, this curbing on the left. And I don't think I did a very good job of it in this particular video. Yeah, so I did a decent job. I got it up here, but you can actually get up on this curbing if you want to. Just don't go over the curbing because the grass is really going to unsettle this car. So get close to this apex curbing, but what you want to do is you want to keep the car turned with this corner to set up for the next one. And what I mean by that is if you watch where the car comes through, I am not going all the way to track out. I'm not going beyond 1/3 track, I'd say. I'm not even getting to mid-track. And that is because we need a setup for the second corner. So the second corner, I'll downshift to third here, and I'm going to try to put my right tires up on this curb, basically kissing this grass, because I need all the room I can to try to make it around the second part. So here we go, coming around, downshift to third, up on the curbing, close to the grass, trying to set up for the next portion on the left-hander. Again, try not to track out all the way to end track, because you're just going to have to move the car right to go left. So I'm only gone out about mid-track, moving the car with a constant steering angle to try to keep it over here on the right side to set up for the next portion of the track. Bring it in. So on this corner, you can actually get up on this curbing if you have a better run through. For me, I turned in a little bit late. It doesn't really matter so much. This is kind of a throwaway corner out of all the different corners on this portion of this little complex of the snake. This is probably the least important corner because of its where it stands and what you need to do. The next corner is setting up for the most important corner. So, and I'll talk a little bit more in that detail after we've gone through it. So try to get to the left side of this curve in order to set you up for the next one. So again, don't go past mid-track. And then here, patience is the key. You're going to want to get on the throttle. You're going to want to carry a lot of speed through here, but all that matters is the corner after this one. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that the car is track right coming out of this long right-hander. And you'll see what I mean. So coming around the corner, I'm having to notice how long I wait before I get on throttle. So I'm at a little bit of maintenance throttle, and now I'm off of throttle. Look at that coast. So throttle, off throttle, off throttle. Now I'm starting to feed on a little bit more, but I don't get to full throttle till about here. Again, haven't gone past mid-track, trying to move the car over to the right to set up to go left. This next corner is the most important out of all of these in the snake. What we're trying to do, it's the entry into Dunlop. So the one that we just went through was called anti-banked curve. This one is the entry into Dunlop, and this one is the most important. So what we want to do is we want to put our car all the way on the right side. And I could actually get over a little bit more, but all the way on the right side. I'm in third gear, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to apex late on this curbing, but effectively when we go to throttle, we want to be full throttle because it leads to a little miniature straightaway leading up into Degner 1 and 2. So patience, late apex. Notice I'm not at full throttle yet, and now I'm at full throttle. So basically just before apex, I'm at full throttle coming up over the hill in third gear. So third gear, the car is going to want to run if you do it right. The thing that we're trying to avoid though is on track out, try not to get up in this area over here on the right. You can kiss the curbing, that's fine. But if you get up on this access road, you're going to run out of track really quickly. And if you get up in this grass at all, you're going to have a very, very bad time because then there's a wall and you're probably going to end up hitting it. I would say err on the side of caution on this one. If you have to kiss, or if you kiss the curbing, that's fine. That's great. That means you carried a lot of speed through there. But what we want to try to avoid is we want to try to avoid coming out of the throttle after apex on this corner. Basically, once we've gone to full throttle at apex, if we do it right, we want to carry it all the way through. So coming through here, the Dunlop curve, just a nice, easy left-hander. On cold tires, this curve can be a little sketchy, so be ready to catch a little bit of oversteer on the car. So coming into Degner 1, we've got a couple of boards. I like to brake between these two boards. So probably about the 75 marker if there was one. So right there is where I've initiated my brake. It's a firm brake, braking in a straight line. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to apex this next corner, which is Degner 1, just on the left side of the curbing, as close as we can as possible. If you cut this curbing in this car, you're going to get two wheels up in the air, and it can be kind of a frightful experience, especially when you land. Sometimes the car can do some weird things. So you'll see what I mean. Coming through here, brake, late turn in. So if we want to analyze where my turning point actually is, it's right at the 50, just after the 50 board. I've started to initiate my turn in. My aim is right here, right where the curbing meets the track. I did a decent job here. I could probably take a little bit more, but what we're trying to avoid is getting up on that curbing. And then we're going to track out, use all the curbing on the exit of this turn. Make sure you try not to get on this AstroTurf area. It can get slick. The only time you ever want to put two wheels on it is if they're basically going dead straight. So I've about maximized as far as I would want to go on track out here. And then we need to set up for Degner 2, which is very similar to Degner 1, just a little bit slower. We're going to brake in a straight line while on this curbing to maximize our entry. We're going to try to apex right there at the curbing where it meets the track. Don't cut too much of it because in this car it can get two wheels up. And then we're going to track out coming out. So it's almost like a mirror, just a little bit slower than the previous one. So brake, turn in, apex as close as you can, and then track out. But don't put your left wheels significantly on here. This is about as far as you can go while not getting a 1X. Any further and you're going to get a 1X, and it's going to slow the car down, so it's not really worth it. Be careful if you carry too much speed through here. Notice the wall on the left. If you do get up over and over this curb, this wall comes in very quickly, and if you clip it, you're going to get slingshotted to the right into the right guardrail and probably take out whoever's behind you. So just make sure that you've slowed the car enough before entering Degners 2 so you can get a good run coming out of the corner. In the run up to the hairpin, we have this little right-hand kink coming up. If the car's feeling really good to you and you feel really hooked up, you can take the kink flat out. For me, I like to give it just a little bit of a lift, not by much, to try to set the car up properly for the hairpin for the turn left. So coming into it, apex it like a normal curve. See how I've cracked the throttle, and that's just to try to keep the car lined up to set myself up for the hairpin. And then basically as soon as you round this corner, as soon as the car starts to get straight, boom, full threshold braking, one of the hardest braking points on the track. There's a multiple lines to the hairpin. I like to, if I'm not defending or doing anything crazy from a racing standpoint, I like to take it wide. So I like to take it from the right side of the track, apex it at the curbing, try to basically back up the corner. And what I mean by that is take all the turning in the corner in the beginning of the corner and to get the best run out that I possibly can on the exit. I don't think I necessarily did it very well for this lap. So yeah, I'm not all the way on track right, but that's okay. I mean, you kind of end up wherever the car ends up coming through that little kink. For me, it ended up just right of track. And so you take advantage of it wherever the car ends up being placed. You react to it. You can take a lot more speed going through the kink and end up having your car end up over here on the left. But just to understand, you're going to have to slow down even more and delay getting on power because of the sharp angle that you're taking this corner in. So I come in, I'm still threshold braking, trailing all the way to apex, and then try to pick up the throttle as soon as you know that you're going to make the corner, let the car track out, use all this curbing on the outside, and then run down from the hairpin. This is 200R, which is this long right-hander, and these cars, it's flat out. If you have cold tires, the rear end may try to slip out on you, so just be ready for a little bit of a counter steer or a control if you need to, an adjustment. And then we're going to lead into spoon curve. So spoon is very similar to the first corner, just going the other way. So if you think about what you did in the first corner, you can kind of emulate it on spoon, just in reverse. So my brake point is this service road that's over here on the right that you can see. I don't go all the way to it in this car. I brake just before it. But it is a good way for me to say, all right, I'm coming up to it. I need a brake. So I brake somewhere in here. You're just going to have to experiment to see what feels most comfortable for you. You want to get the car all the way to the right to set up for this one. And when you do your brake zone, just like first corner, you want to brake in a straight line from your braking point to the apex curbing that's on the left. So here we are. I've started my brake already. I've passed the access road. There's the curbing that I'm trying to straight line this at. So if you notice, I don't turn in until after the access road, right about there. Straight line the try to straight line this apex curbing. I still have a decent amount of braking, trail braking coming in here, and we're going to let the car run all the way to track out. Now on this lap, I go a little bit over the curb than I would really want to. I try to not jump the curve with the right tires, but I think in this lap I actually do. But just be aware that it can come up and it happens. So here I am, I'm tracking out. I've still got some braking in. I'm trying to balance it with a little bit of throttle when I know that I'm about to go over this curving. So right here, I've got a little bit more throttle, try to set the rear. You also are able to add a little bit of throttle after you've done the first part of this corner, unlike first corner, because this car is not fast enough to carry the momentum all the way around here. So you do have an opportunity to feed on a little bit more power coming around. And then you'll have a second brake period here where it's going to be a late apex. And this corner is so much slower than you think it is. You look at it and you say, hey, this looks really inviting, but it's a decreasing radius. It gets tighter the further you go. So you need to brake. You need to be patient, patient, patient. And then when you get the car started to get turned in, you can start feeding on the throttle. I'm in third gear through here. I use the curbing to help me turn a little bit. And then you want to be on full throttle as soon as you can to get the run all the way down the back stretch leading up into 130R. The run down the back stretch is just exactly that. It's a straightaway. Take a breather, check your mirrors, see if there's anybody around you. 130R coming up, or I also like to call it the kink, is a very difficult corner and it can be quite intimidating for some. But hopefully we can get through it. But start thinking about how you want to approach it. For me, I like to look at these two signs that are coming up. There's a 100 board and a 50 board. I like to brake just after the 100. So I'm guessing about the 75, which would be pretty par for the course for me, it seems like, on this track. So there's the 100. I'm braking just after the 100. So maybe more about 85 if there was one. And then I'm going to turn in after the 50 board. And the idea on the turn in here is you want to give it a little bit of a trail brake to get the nose pointed in, and then off the brake to settle the car, and then back on throttle when you know you're going to make the corner. So we're going to wait to turn in until after the 50 board. So there it is. It's almost right at the 50 board. And then what I'm trying to do is I'm thinking to myself, I want these left tires on this curbing or even over this curving. So actually touching this grass. And this is not a 1X. This is actually pretty kind to the car. We're going to take it through here. And then notice I've already started feeding on my throttle. I'm at half throttle and I haven't even hit apex yet. And all that is doing is settling the rear of the car. Basically, I've loaded everything on this back right tire, and I want this back right tire to have the maximum amount of grip to carry the load through this corner to make it through safely. So I'm in fifth gear through here. At apex, I'm 100% throttle, full throttle. And then at this point, I'm committed. I can't modify my line. I can't do anything. It is what it is, and we'll take it through. Luckily, I turned in and scrubbed enough speed, so it worked. And in fact, I actually have a little bit more room to run out. If you do end up in this curbing over here on the right, I would say if you've gotten to the point where the car has jumped over it and you're starting to touch this AstroTurf, let the car run. Don't try to fight it back, because if you try to fight it back and you hit a bump, you're going to J-hook it across the track. It's much safer to just jump the curb, use this run out that's over here. It's paved for a reason, and just kindly bring it back on track down here. It will obviously be a 1X. It may even be a slowdown if you go too far out here, but that's much safer than putting it in the barrier because you tried to save it to avoid the 1X. Coming down into the Casio triangle, which is this last little complex of corners, I like to brake just after the 150 board in this car. It's a firm brake. Keep the car left. We're looking for the apex. This right-hander is so slow. Do everything you can not to get up on the curbing, because if you do in this car, it's going to bounce the car up and make it very unstable for the next one. So coming through, you want to delay, just kiss the curbing like I did there, be at mid-track. You can actually turn in a little bit early for this one. If you do go up on this curbing, the left side tires are going to jump up in the air. Be ready for it. Don't panic if it happens. But when the car comes back and it settles down, you can then get back and squeeze on the throttle. So you'll see it actually happen to me. Car's bounced up, wait for the car to settle, back on full throttle, use all the runoff here, and then coming down, you may have to, if you notice when I come through, I actually crack the throttle to go right because this is another place where this car likes to oversteer coming out of this last little corner. So you may have to crack the throttle just to get the car under you before you get back on it and go all the way through. So that's a lap of Suzuka. What I'm going to do now is go back and to the beginning of this lap when it was still daylight apparently, and talk about passing zones on some of these areas on this track. So a couple of the key passing zones where you can make moves are at the end of the long straightaways with the exception of the back straight, and I'll tell you what I mean. So coming up into turn 1, this is a very, very good opportunity to try to pass someone, and it is also an opportunity for others to try to pass you. Because you're all the way over here on the left to try to set up for this turn, it leaves the right side way open for someone to come in and try to make a move on you, or vice versa. Do know that if you are making a move on someone coming into turn 1, you need to get up alongside them before the braking zone, so that one, they know you're there and they don't try to turn down into you. The problem with turn 1 is that the line through here at full speed has the car coming down to apex, and if there's a car to the right of you and you can't do that, all of a sudden your corner is compromised and you're going to end up over here outside track limits on the left side. So if you're the passing car, make sure that you are alongside your competitor so they know full well that you intend to be on their inside coming into turn 1. If you're not going to have that happen, if you're not going to be able to get alongside them, I would advise not trying to dive bomb someone into turn 1. This is a place that can both be dangerous but also a good opportunity to pass. It is also possible to take it too wide through this corner. But again, you need to be side by side going into the brake zone so both parties know exactly what the intentions are for both parties, which is, hey, we're going to take this too wide. If you are the inside car, you cannot track out all the way like you would. You have to keep it on the inside, which means you have to sacrifice speed. The outside car is going to have to sacrifice speed too because they weren't able to go to the apex. So you guys will both be doing the same thing going around this corner. The inside car tends to have an advantage, especially on the second part, because it's so important to try to get up down on this curbing for the good run coming out of this corner. So usually by the second portion of this turn, if the cars are side by side, the inside car is going to have starting to get a little bit of an advantage, and then hopefully on the way out you're clear. Another note about passing, especially when you're going too wide, it slows both cars down. So if you're the car being passed going into turn 1, let's say, prudence suggests that it may be wise for you to lift all the way at the beginning a little bit more, or hold the brakes a little bit more and slow the car down a little bit more, let the other car get by you, and then just slot in right behind them, continue your line as normal, and that will minimize the amount of time lost for both cars coming through here. Coming up into the snake, snake in general is just a terrible place to pass because of the constant left right. Everything about this complex of turns is complicated, and trying to take these too wide usually does not end in very well. So if you are behind a slow car, unfortunately you're probably going to be slow going through snake. If you are the car in front and somebody tries to initiate a pass on you, it may be wise just to let them have it, tuck in behind them, and follow them through instead of trying to fight them for position through snake. We mentioned before that I was going to let it play again so you can kind of see the line. Everything about this section of track is like skiing. If you've ever skied downhill, you're just going right, left. Everything sets up the next corner, which ultimately is setting up your entry into Dunlop, which is right here all the way to track right. So the cars are all pretty well matched going through snake. Unless someone takes a really absurd line and is really slow through there, you're probably not going to have a run on someone coming up into Dunlop just because of the nature of the corner, which means that going through Dunlop usually is a single file affair. If you do get a run on someone coming through Dunlop, I would advise, if you have an ability to make a pass on someone, make it on the inside. Notice how the car tracks all the way out to the right after you've come through that last portion of Snake onto Dunlop. If you're on the inside, it's just much safer. If you're on the outside and you try to go someone around on the outside, their car is wanting to track to the outside. If they lose control or they don't know you're there, they're just going to go right into your door and push you out into this gravel, and then that's game over for you. If you do have a run, get your pass done before Degner's 1, which is up and coming. I would highly discourage trying to make a move into Degner's 1. So don't pop out on someone and try to pass coming into here. This is a very, very tight corner. There's really only one way through it. I don't think I've ever seen anybody take it too wide successfully through here. Just back it up, let them have it, live to fight another day, and catch them somewhere else on the track. So coming through Degner's 1, single file all the way through both of these. Degner's 2, track out, and now we're headed up to the hairpin. The hairpin is a passing zone. So if I take my traditional line through here, like I mentioned before, which is trying to get the car on track right to enter into the hairpin, that leaves me susceptible to somebody that bombs it through that little kink, ends up all the way on track left for the hairpin. If that's the case and they're on my inside, we could break into here and I would have to take a wider line. He'd take the inside line, and he would have a better run through this corner, especially on the entry, to make a pass. So the hairpin is a possibility to make a pass. If you are the car that is getting passed, be aware that there may be a car on your inside when you try to turn in. A lot of incidents in the hairpin happen when the car that is in front does not know that there's a car trying to pass, and they just come down on them. And then that ends up resulting in the lead car who's on the outside getting punted out into the gravel trap or into the wall out here. Another passing zone is this straightaway, which is 130R. Or no, sorry, this is 200R. If you get a good run coming out of the hairpin, and that's something important to mention, is that turns don't always happen on corners. A lot of turns are not turns. Turns always happen in corners. Passes don't always happen in corners. Coming out of a turn is a great opportunity to set up a pass. If you get a better run coming out of a slow corner like the hairpin, you can pass someone on a straightaway, which is the safest place to pass. So getting a good run through this hairpin relative to your competitor will enable you to get by them on 200R leading up into Spoon Curve. So think of it that way rather than I'm coming into someone and I need to dive bomb them into this turn, because that's actually probably the riskiest way to pass. So let's assume that you've got a nice good run on your competitor coming out of the hairpin, coming down the straightaway. There is a lot of room. The cars are loaded coming around the right side, so just be aware if you do try to go around the outside, that the car that's on the inside will be drifting out just because the car has to. So you need to be all the way left to go around. Also, if you're the car that's getting passed, you see the car behind you has a run on you coming out of that corner, and he's already started to initiate a pass by going out on the inside. It's up to you, but it would be wise to just give a little bit of a lift, let him get the pass done, and then you can file behind him, maintain your pace and your lap, and you don't slow either one of you down. Coming into Spoon is just like the first corner, it is an opportunity to pass, but only if you're up alongside your competitor before the break zone happens. If you're not up there, then he may not know you're there. He may come down on you, and it's going to result in contact. Spoon's a little bit different from first corner in the sense that it is difficult to take this too wide. And if you do take it too wide, you're leading up onto the longest straightaway on the track, and probably Spoon is the most important curve as a result. Therefore, if you take it too wide, you're both going to be incredibly slow and you're going to lose a ton of time to the field. So it's wise to just get in line, get the best run that you can come out of it. And like we talked about before, if you're the following car and you want to pass the guy in front, get a good run coming out of Spoon, and you be able to draft on your competitor and be able to get by him on the straightaway with no drama before 130R. So here's a common place that people catch people, because you come out of Spoon, the car behind has a nice draft going, and they want to maximize that draft, so they're going to pop out and they're going to try to pass their competitor. This is probably the most dangerous place to try to pass someone, is 130R. It's super high speed. There's only one line through here if you're going at race pace. And a lot of people come together. So if you try to make a move on someone here, it's incredibly low probability or very high chance of something wrong happening or car contact. I would highly advise trying to make a move going through 130R. Just file in line. If you can't make the pass happen by the time 130R comes, it's not going to happen. Even if you're able to get alongside your competitor going into 130R, that turn's going to be compromised for you being on the inside. It's going to be compromised for him being on the outside. You're both trying to go through quickly, but if you get to this point and there's a car here on the inside of you, I mean, it's just an ugly scenario. So again, the only way I'd even advise passing someone going into 130R is if you're confident that you can get your car fully ahead of them before the turn-in point. Coming into the Casio Triangle, this is a decent passing zone because it's such hard braking. If a car does get alongside you or you get alongside your competitor, you can outbrake them coming in here. The inside car has a huge advantage coming through here. Just be aware though, if you try to take too much speed on the inside, you're going to run out wide and you're going to run out. So if he tries to keep it too wide going through that first corner, and you take it too hot and you're on the inside, you're going to run into him on track out. But it is an opportunity to pass. And then we come back onto the straightaway. And if we can get a good run out of Casio, it's a good opportunity to pass down the front straight, leading back into the first corner. So that's it, guys. That's a little track walk and also talking about passing at Suzuka Circuit. I wish everybody good luck for the upcoming race. This is a complicated track. It is one of the more difficult tracks on the service. Please do not be discouraged if your lap times aren't where you want them to be. Practice, practice, practice. If there's one takeaway on this track that I would advise, it would be patience. Everything through the S's or snake requires patience. You need to be thinking 3 or 4 corners ahead of the corner that you're actually on to try to set up properly to get a fast lap time here. All the corners are connected. And they just reward patience in not overdriving the car. As soon as you start overdriving the car on this track, you're going to start scrubbing time and your lap times are going to balloon. So thank you again. My name is Chris Pice. I've enjoyed making this video. Hopefully there'll be more to come. If you enjoy it, let the PCA steering committee members know. If there's tips or ideas that you have to improve this, let me know. I'm here doing this for you guys. Yeah, I'm just here to help out. So thank you very much. And thanks for listening to me.